Welcome to the Edinburgh City Supporters Club podcast. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest edition of the very unofficial Edinburgh City Supporters Club podcast. As ever, I am your host, the Right Reverend Bobby Love. Today we're expecting a rather packed podcast, so sit down, grab yourself a cuppa, while we'll get tore into the team. We have a good tactical discussion about what's been going on. But before we do that, as ever, I will introduce you to my two co-hosts. As always, we've got Citizen Neal, Mr. Rooney. How are we doing?
Very good, mate. Very good. I hear you were apparently doing this video evidence of you doing karaoke with the captain on Saturday night. Is this true?
There is absolutely no evidence of me doing a karaoke with the captain. There is picture evidence of me and Rob talking to each other, perhaps.
Well, I've seen other CCTV footage of you two doing karaoke. But
I was in no fit state to do karaoke on Saturday, I'll tell you that. Anyway, enough of that nonsense interlude. And as we're expecting quite a lot tonight, it's quite apt that we should introduce Mr. Monks himself, the man who loves a moan, Ali Moncrief.
Evening, guys. Everybody well?
Good.
Cracking.
Good.
Right, as we're saying, probably a bit of a packed podcast today, guys. Going to talk about games. Poor form, unfortunately. Fridays and pricing. A bit of player focus. We can finally discuss the board meeting that me and Rooney had, as the minutes have been approved and sent out to interested parties. Obviously, there's things that we can't share, but we'll share what we can. Probably a little bit about the women's team, the usual bit about Mr. Monk's Moans, Rooney's Rants, Bobby's bonus, and we'll do a thank you to James McDonough at the very end. So, to start, games since we last recorded. First league game of the season, fully optimism. Had a great day out. As ever, the football spoiled it. Lovely day, lovely train journey through with the fans and that. Ja was on there, Alec was on there, had all the celebs, you know what I mean? A couple of pints of Moans. Aaron finally got a pint for the boys. What a great day. And then we went to he did buy it. And then we went to the game, which, well, all I can say was a bit disappointing. We lost 2-0. We're not at the races at all. Conceded a penalty early doors. I was a bit dubious of whether it was a penalty. Can see why it was given. If it'd been the other way around, I'd probably scream for it, but there you go. We obviously had the farcical situation at half-time with the referee having to go off injured. One linesman in one half, no linesman in another half. Gary on the pitch complaining to the ref or officials, whatever was going on. Chairman Brown on the pitch complaining about what was going on. Not that I think it made a massive amount of difference to the result. Anyway, you guys either watch the stream or watch the highlights. Would you and Callie?
Just so hugely disappointing. I think when you look at it, probably backs up what we said before. I don't think the rest of the league's made great strides in terms of how there's not loads of good teams, but there's no, a couple of seasons ago, it was almost a gimme that you were going to go and beat Albion Rovers. Even if it was away from home, they were a poor side. They were likely to be Club 42, and that just isn't the case this year. Teams like Albion Rovers are going to be competitive. At the moment, competitive is too good for us, to be honest with you. I thought we deserved to lose. The stuff at half-time was a bit of a distraction from what was essentially a very, very... One of the... I only saw the highlights, in fairness, I missed it. It was a waste of into the stream. But I think from the highlights and from what others have said, one of the worst performances since we've been into the league structure. Actually, I think no real way of playing, very few chances created, very little positive news at all, to be honest with you. And it's an away day we all enjoy, just for the reasons you've just said. It's an easy one to get to. There's pubs nearby, etc. Good old-fashioned, very, very old-fashioned ground. But yeah, it was one of those games from watching and from speaking to folk, there was just nothing positive to take away at all. And I think should be a real warning sign to the club about where this season's going to go, because teams like Albion Rovers and teams like Cowdenbeath, obviously we don't have a break in the league this year. There's not a lot of easy 3 points out there this year at all. We were off it against Albion Rovers and we got very comfortably dispatched. That's it. There's nothing else to say. Years gone, previous seasons before we had enough quality versus them to play poorly and win the game. We've all been there. We've played not that well and won the game or come away with something. This season, there's not a difference in quality. So we were crap and we got beat. That's it, really.
That's succinctly put there. Neal, you watched the game in the stream, I think.
I watched it first because I come off the golf course and watched the second half first after me making the good decision to play golf because of your reports about the first half. The boys were like, I was horrendous at the golf, so obviously I had a better day even. But watched the second half and went, it wasn't that bad. And then watched the first half and went, I can understand why Bob and that were frustrated. It screams in the scatter. It's becoming more and more, seeming more and more like a scattergun approach where you didn't even get to do this as a football manager. You didn't get to go in and clear the club and just start again, do you? It'd be great if you could in some places, but it's becoming more and more like that, where it's like, I don't know. I mean, we were at Bonnyrigg and it was good. And you watched them and went, Bonnyrigg are a decent team. It's a hard place to go to. There's a few guys that have played for Scotland under 21s and been at Hearts and Hibs and that. You know what I mean? There's a few really, really good players. And they've always done really, really well. Now they're East Scotland and stuff. And you're watching going, Michael McFarlane looks decent. I was a wee bit, we had a boy on trial who looked really good, who wasn't, we don't have anymore. We never signed him. But, you played McFarlane and that, again, Kid's injured. You thought, actually, we look all right. Maybe move Kid into the middle and stuff like that and whatever. We just seem a bit scattergun and don't have, and we'll get on it as we talk about other games, we're not settled on how we want to play either, which I don't think it's helped. We knew we can only go back to Gary as well. When we were under Gary, we knew we were playing with a back three and two wing backs. It was whether we played with two forwards, we played with one forward and two wide, two guys supporting. That was going to be the only change. The team still played the same blooming way.
Right.
James, to a degree, started with a 4-4-2 and then quickly found out he moved into a 4-2-3-1, put Hanlon in the middle, or put Alan Smith in the middle behind a striker, put two wide men in. We just don't seem, if we want to go with a back three, then fair enough, go with a back three every week. But we just seem to be, it seems a bit scattergun, which is a bit of a worry, because Ali's right. We've talked about it before, you look at it, it looks like every other team has improved, but it doesn't mean they've went leaps and strides in front of us. They've maybe come up a couple of notches where you're not going to get a walkover. Or you're not going to go, we should beat them. Now, you're not guaranteed to beat anybody, but what you're saying, you're marking that in the calendar, go, come on, lads, let's get 3 points. It seems a bit like that at the moment, but we'll move on.
Aye, not exactly a particularly good start. As you say, we were frustrated. We were talking before here, we're not really a fan base that boos the team at any point. Never really have, just not really in our nature. I think in my 15, 20 years ago to City games, I've booed a team off twice. And once was half-time against Albion Rovers because it was so absolutely dire. There's no getting around it. We were poor. No shape, no focus. Tactically, I thought we were poor. Everything about it was just dismal. Changed a little bit, obviously, when John Robertson came on. He gave a wee bit more up front. But otherwise, it was I want to just write off and move on to the next game. But we did move on to the next game when it was away to Forfar and we lost 2-0. Another penalty conceded, a pen missed. I didn't watch it because obviously I fell asleep before going round to Rooney's. But by the signs of it, for what I could gather when you guys phoned, that was probably the right decision, Rooney.
Well, for those who don't know, the three of us were meant to sit together in my new gaff and relax and enjoy the company and watch the game. Bob made the right decision and fell asleep, and Ali and I just moaned for 9 minutes. So, thanks for my housewarming. The first half was like, we just seem to be losing goals where we did before. Now, I get that because you've got new guys in the team and stuff like that, but we lost that goal down the left-hand side. We conceded a penalty. I don't know. The second half, I mean, I think the only bright spark at the first 2 games is Robertson. But whether Robertson's going to bang in double figures, even if he scores 10 goals, would be ideal. I don't know if he's got that in him. I don't know. I hope to be proved wrong because we've seen it. We'll move on to us actually winning a game. But he's the only way I can put it. He's a hardy wee bastard, and it's something as a support we've probably not had as a striker. We maybe went back to having like Ian McFarlane, who was like that. You know what I mean? I know Blackie and that are different, but Ian McFarlane would just, he was a hardy wee one as well. That's what Robertson's like. He was probably the bright spark out of the two games, and he certainly in the second half he was like, right, come on. He was trying to drag the team, especially after the goal went in. But he was trying to drag the team about himself at times, and that's the way it felt anyway, or the way it looked. But still, again, it goes back to what I said about the first game. It's loads of guys in and too late, I think. It's probably where it would come.
Well, we certainly lost. I watched the highlights. We lost the first goal going down the left. Not necessarily it was because of Callum or Rab.
No, I know.
But Callum kind of cut it across. Scott Reekie just missed the ball completely, and then it went. And then the second one, for what I can remember, Goodfellow was caught in a bit of no man's land. But we had a lot of chances. We never finished any of them.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a bit of a difficulty. Ali, what's your view?
Yeah, I think it was probably a relatively neat summation of the kind of issues that you would expect when you look at the squad. Lots of chances and some good play to create those chances. Actually, I think that should be said. But when you look at the starting lineup from that game, I don't think there's anyone who's scored double figures. In there, I think actually Danny Handling has maybe got double figures in his overall. There's just no goals in the team. There just is absolutely no goals in the team at all. They don't just appear. No one in that team, in that squad, is going to score 15 goals this season. They're not. It's just not going to happen. There's nothing to suggest that. So we will miss loads of chances because we don't have any goals. We don't have a goal scorer. Robertson, worked hard. Actually, Shanley worked hard as well, to be fair to him. But create loads of chances and miss them. Well, that's not surprising because we don't have any goal scorers. They ran through the middle whenever they wanted because our middle was tapping, Jardine, Handling. All good individual players, far too soft, far too soft. And then individual errors in defence. A penalty, I'll say it now, we've conceded we've scored 2 goals this season, conceded 4 penalties. That's atrocious. That's absolutely atrocious. And conceding 4 penalties, folk will think, that's not bad luck. That's poor coaching. It's people not knowing, being in the wrong position. It's people making mistakes. That's too many for it just to be bad luck. That's there's something that needs to be addressed there in terms of whether it's positioning, whether it's individuals maybe need taken out the team for a while, whether it's just the team shape, whatever it is. Nowhere near good enough. So we gave them a penalty. They happened to miss it. And then they finished it. They finished the game later on. We actually ran out of puff as well. I think a couple of our chances were all really in the first half. We didn't create much in the second half either. So we kind of ran out of ideas. And it's an interesting contrast because we played Forfar. I know they beat us in the cup. Lars put us out of the cup last year, but we looked a better side than them. And actually, that was under Naismith as well. We looked a much better side than them. But nowhere near it this time. But yeah, missed loads of chances. Far too soft through the middle, and a defence full of errors. Yep. is what we've got, to be honest with you. And actually, you said Crane got beat too easy down the left. Reekie miskicked. Toshney fell over. Reekie gave away the penalty. The young boy, and I don't want to pick on players, but he did give away the penalty, which they missed, and he was at fault twice actually for their second goal. I actually thought he played quite well against Hamilton Accies when we were there in the cup. But he's a young boy and he needs to be protected a little bit. He needs maybe some experience alongside him. Guys who've played lots of games, maybe with Bronski coming back in, that might help. Toshney didn't look mobile enough. I know he's had his injury problems, but he just didn't look fit. And I think Bronski was on the bench. He should have, maybe he would have been better off playing than Toshney. But just a game we weren't going to win. But not surprisingly, when you look at the way the squad is, I think it's as simple as that.
Obviously, we had an injury to Goodfellow in goals. He came off. Then Schweik got injured. And when I was seeing the reports, I was like, no again, no again. But anyway, managed to get through. And quite fortunately, our big goalkeeper on loan managed to make a comeback for the game against Steny. I didn't watch that. I was watching the Monarchs in a rather nail-biting win at Armadale. Obviously, at the start of the Friday games, which we'll come to later on. You boys were there. By all accounts, not the greatest performance, but a superb goalkeeping performance. Rooney?
I don't think it was... I look at their team and go, as we speak at our ex-Stanside manager, Mr. Thompson, Davey was there. And I never actually asked him if he paid to get in. I should have asked him. But I was speaking to Davey and we were talking about several things and players. Jordan Tappin come over a bit. There's somebody who done well last year. Never signed them. We went through a lot of things and discussed a lot of things, but I look at their team and go, looking at ours, we miss a bit of steel in the middle of the park. Whether the manager didn't like Naismith, didn't like Laird, or didn't like Blackie, fine. I don't have a problem if he didn't like the guys. But the boy Wedderburn bullied us for 2 games and has dropped down a level. Surely somebody should be going, why can we not sign him to sit in the middle of the park for us and let all the boys go and play? In my opinion, if he wanted a change, in my opinion, go and sign him. They signed the boy Ross Forbes, who looked the part in the first game, but
the only thing I'll say to that is, judging by some comments for Stenhousemuir fans, they're not impressed with either of them. So,
well, but
no, but I do get the point. We definitely need somebody who's a bit
stronger in there, right? You look at their team and go, I mean, but they had signed, what were we saying, Ali? They had signed 6 boys for
BSC Glasgow, yeah.
So, but they still, I wouldn't say they were over, they were far better than us at times, but you could tell they were maybe a wee bit more streetwise is probably the best way to put it. I would say it's probably a good defensive performance because everybody stuck. I mean, near the end, it was like body after body on the line, putting blocks on. So the guys, done all the dirty work to get the result, which is great. And the goalie, touch wood, looks the part, which is brilliant. But we just miss that bit of steel in the middle. And it's, as I say, if you didn't like the options we had last year, surely you got to find a guy that can do that for you because you're not going to get the best out of Tappin. You're not going to get the best out of Danny Jordan telling they two to play in the middle of the park together. And it's not that even Tappin was tackling and doing the hard work on Friday, but that's not his game. The game's, you know what I mean? You lose what he's good at by making him do that. That's something that he's not as good at. So
yep.
It was a good result. We done well defensively. We stuck in it. To be fair, apart from the first 30 seconds of the second half, where we were screaming because we gave a penalty away. And everybody seemed to laugh at me when I moaned because Wedderburn got booked half an hour too late. I was like, that wasn't being sarcastic. We thought I was having a sarcastic shout, but he should have been off the park, to be fair, because he should have been booked twice in the second half. So,
there we go. Ali, what's your view? Oh, it's frozen. Oh,
yeah.
He's back.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I think I just had a think of what I was going to say. So, but I think in terms of like the goalkeeping performance, I have to say was up there with the best I've ever seen as an individual performance from a City goalkeeper. It was absolutely flawless. Looks like a proper athlete. Handling was his handling was absolutely outstanding. The ball was sticking, to which you don't see a huge amount at this level. Good Lord knows why he's been on the bench, by the way, before now. I mean, it's just completely unfathomable. If he should have been starting. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. Like I genuinely don't understand that one. I'm probably a bit willing to give Naismith a bit more credit than some people, but that's a totally nonsensical decision. He's streets ahead of Goodfellow as a goalkeeper. Should have been playing outside. I think the goal we scored was a good finish from Shanley, who again worked hard, but it came about by the Stenhousemuir centre half missing the ball and then falling over. That's the only way we were scoring, really. It was a complete fluke that we got the chance. It wasn't through good play or anything. It just came in, and that's how we were able to put it away. Then missed a couple of decent chances in the second half as the game got stretched. There is, we did dig in and we did see it out, which is hugely important. I think the back five, if you think the goal looked a bit better.
Yeah,
Kieran Bryan at right back, I thought actually did okay. I thought then, Bronski's a bit more aggressive at centre half, which is obviously what we need. To prove in, Rab did fine left back. We actually moved Callum Crane into central midfield and actually did a bit more bite and a bit more steel. And I thought we looked better when that was the case. So there were some positive signs, but if it wasn't for the goalkeeper, we lose that game. And not just draw the game, we lose the game. Definitely, absolutely, definitely. So there is a glimmer of hope from it, but it wasn't like some, restorative performance or anything like that. I just don't think there's enough. There's just not enough goals in the team. There isn't, and there's not enough steel in the middle of the park. We're too easy to play against, and I don't see that changing, to be honest with you. And I might come on to it, but I didn't watch no real interest in watching B team games, to be honest with you. But we seem to come crashing back down to earth. So any glimmer we got from the Tennismuir win just seemed to. I would say actually it was quite. I have to say though, it was quite an entertaining game. The Tennismuir bench in particular, when I'm enjoying a rather wild tackle from a right back, which sent the left winger into the Pilton housing estate just about. And it was a dreadful challenge, to be fair. I don't know if his mum and dad were maybe sitting next to us, so we had to be a wee bit careful about what we were
next to us.
But we thought so. We actually, I think it was because they got one of their officials got booked for something else, and I expected a red card because they came right over Kieran Bryan when he'd made the challenge.
The wrong guy as well. I think according to it was the wrong guy that got booked.
So that was it. It was a good laugh, to be fair. So it was, for an entertainment point of view, that was good. And you know what? It was nice to start the Saturday morning, having 3 points all wrapped up, with not to worry about anything else. So there was that for it, but a glimmer of hope, but not much more than that.
Aye. I would say as well, just to finish off, it's funny because the guys for Bob's favourite TV show were there, the guys for the View to the Terrace. Obviously, Ali knows one of them, so when they come round, they spoke. But the boy Craig Telford getting a picture taken, and it turned into an internet meme from, I think, who was the other boy that was there?
I don't know, but there was just some random boy with a funny face at the back, and that's what exactly causing the meme.
The memes, but then there's loads of.
It's one of the other hosts from it. They were calling him Dr. Robotnik from Sonic because he had this. So it was good. It was good how they exploited and become the internet memes.
Right. So with that, we move on to the game we played a couple of nights ago. As Ali's already indicated, neither he or I could give two shits about entertaining B team games. I have no interest going to watch a youth team. Judging by the ridiculously low crowd, nobody else was. Not a lot of others were interested either. Rooney was, because he got the stream. You watched it. You can give a very brief summary before we go into probably the biggest part of the pod.
I was intending to go, if I'm being brutally honest. I wasn't well. Fortunately, it wasn't COVID related. I did not have my half and half scarf out. Disappointed the club didn't sell those, but anyway. The biggest thing I would say to you is you can tell one team's full time and one team's not. Is the biggest thing I would say. And it'd be hard for, but what did they play Tuesday night? City played on Friday. Whether the young Hearts guys played on Saturday, I don't know. But you could tell easily one team was full time and one wasn't. I did think though, with my Hearts hat on, going banana skin because Mihai Popescu was playing at centre half for Hearts because he is an absolute huddy. And if he played for City, everybody would be happy. But that would be the thing. You could tell one team was full time and they were just a lot fitter. And they moved the ball and tried to play a bit more tempo. The new guy on co-coms that used to work for Hibs kept on going on about Ewan Henderson and how he was the main man. He wasn't the main man, him and Connor Smith and there was other guys in the middle.
Oh, here they talking about Hearts, Rooney.
I know, but he kept waxing on about them. One team was full time. It made a big difference, I would say to that. That's probably all I would say.
Right, okay, we could draw a line under that because I don't want to spend any more time on talking about B teams as much as I can. Absolute waste of time, man. There you go, Rangers again today, signing a boy to stick in their B team. Where is he again for? Columbia or something, they said, eh?
It's maybe related to Alfredo. Keep him happy.
Joke. Aye, saving Scottish football, one signing at a time, eh? Right, anyway, enough of that. I'll come on to that later, maybe. Anyway, right, so as it's been a bit kind of pessimistic so far, it's going to carry on being a bit pessimistic so far. Obviously, the main
pod is pessimistic. Yeah.
Well, the main thing is that we've started poorly. Our League Cup games we didn't play very well. In the league, we've played pretty poorly. We look like a team who's been cobbled together last minute, or at least if I've had an eye on these guys, wondering what's going on. If you're going to be like, we've all asked questions about if you're going to get rid of some stalwarts at the team, you like see your Matt Laird, Blackie, Callum Antal, these type of guys, Blair Henderson, who's top of the Lowland League scoring charts that we had, will be can he buy a goal? You would expect ready-made replacements to come in. That's not happened. Right, so I was going through, I thought I'd crunch some numbers. Right, if my pal Craig listens to this and hears me talk about numbers, he'll be pissing himself because he kens I hate them. Right, so last season, when Gary came in, which was effectively with James's team, 110, drawn 2, lost 5. One of them draws includes Forfar, which we lost 10 penalties. So it depends on how you want to mark that down as a loss or a draw. The bookies would mark it as a draw, all right? Yeah. So I'll put it down as a draw, right? Penalties conceded 1 in 17 games, right? This season, we've started off with 1 win, 1 draw, and 5 losses. And that draw was a loss to penalties against Albion Rovers, all right? Penalties conceded 4 in 4 league games. Last season, though, might have papered over some things because we had 7 out of 10 wins were won by 1 goal, right? This season, never mind the fact we've only got 1 goal, we've barely scored a goal. Lucky goals I've got in my notes here. 2 goals in 7 games across all competitions.
Okay.
I think we've touched on a lot of things. I think it's a dismal start. I don't think it's because Focal Sale, it's because you guys have been spoiled the last 3 years or so. I don't even think it's that. I think recruitment's been poor. I think we've not replaced well enough. The guys who have stayed, there's still a lot of decent players in that team. You know, Rab, Callum, Callum Tappin, Uzi when he's in it. When he's the thing with Uzi is we all know about Uzi. He's a form player. If he's in form, he's great. If he's no, he's no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've still got decent players there. Danny Handlin's there, but the rest of the kind of supporting cast were decimated, and unfortunately, at the minute, it's not looking particularly pretty. Some folk are saying we should be okay. I personally think we're in a relegation battle already, unless something changes quickly. Because for one thing is we can't score goals. Chance after chance after chance in games, and we can't score. Right, well, as I said, you're watching Blair Henderson there, 8 goals already in the Lowland League, top of their charts. We can't buy a goal. So, before I get too ranty, which I'll probably come on to, Ali, I'll let you go first. What's your view?
Yeah, I suppose the concerning thing for me is that it was so obvious that this is what was going to happen. Like I said, I wasn't actually that against some of the players being moved out, really, because, you know, we didn't get into it. The aim was to get into League One. We didn't get into League One. So if you get moved on from the club, I don't think you've got any. I can't think you can have any real complaints. How that was communicate to players and all that kind of stuff is another question, I guess. But the actual, you know, football's a tough game. If you don't achieve what you want to achieve, then you get moved on. But it was. The recruitment has just been, and I think when you look at part-time football, we only get 2 nights with players. Actually, I don't know how it works with us doing Fridays, actually, how much training we actually get, whether that impacts it or not, with guys getting time off their work and stuff anyway. But you get very limited time on the training pitch. So the biggest and most important thing in part-time football, by a huge margin, is recruitment. You've got to get your recruitment right. We've got that spectacularly wrong. We've got rid of some very good players. We've lost a couple of good players who've gone to higher things, and that's good for them. You've got to appreciate that and not criticism at all. But players we've moved on, chosen to move on, and we haven't come close to replacing them. It just feels it's actually quite hard to. It felt obvious to everybody. We sat here every podcast ago and talked about the way the recruitment was going. And I said it earlier, came back to it. We just don't have any goals in the team. We're just not going to score. We are just not going to score any goals this season. Like we just, because there is nobody there with any. There's nothing to indicate in anyone's career previously that they're going to score 15 goals this season. It just isn't going to happen. I think we don't have an identity in the way we want to play. I've got no idea of what Naismith wants to do with his team. You touched on it earlier, Rooney. Certainly with James, it was that 4-2-3-1. We were absolutely solid through the middle. There was a physical presence up front. At times it got did get a bit stale. And it's quite hard to get your head around because Naismith came in, he did have an impact, and he did seem to energise some of the players, and he brought the best out of guys like Jordan. Danny started to play really well as well. And those guys have just fallen off a cliff again when they've come back in. I don't really understand what it is we're doing. It's bizarre, and there's a couple of things Naismith has said about bringing in young kids and knowing it'll be inconsistent and things like that. Well, why are we bringing in young kids then if we know it's going to be inconsistent? It's a strange one. I think we probably are under. I'm trying to say whether we're underperforming or not. I think we probably just are because we're not getting much from. Danny Jordan's a better player than he's shown. Radmat's a better player than he's shown. Bronski's been a good player. All these kind of things. So I don't think. I'm not worried about a relegation thing at the moment. I think we will improve. I think there are better players here, but the lack of goals is the one that's the big. Because I don't know how we fix that. There's a bit of time left for the transfer window, but I really don't know how we fix that. I wasn't even that big a Blair Henderson fan, but would we be a better team with Blair Henderson? Yeah, of course we would. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. So
the thing is, I'll let you come in this time, Rooney. When you're talking about recruitment, we just look rudderless.
Yeah,
absolutely rudderless. For James leaving, which we'll talk about later on, to the poor recruitment, to tactics that just look like they're all over the place, we just look absolutely rudderless. No?
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame necessarily the players because there's obviously something else going on that doesn't make that. Like you're saying, like we've got good players there. We've got Rab, who probably hasn't started the way we normally start. Danny Hanlon certainly hasn't. Danny Jordan's not quite the player he was last year. Callum Kane, even in fairness, I actually think Callum's played pretty well when I was.
Somewhere in the middle of the park.
You know what I mean? You've said yourself that Bronski, who were all pretty excited when he signed, he's looked okay, I guess, but maybe not quite as he was at Elgin. So who gets the blame there? Is it the players or does it come from one guy? And the person that has to shoulder that's got to be the manager. If he's the one that's chopping and changing tactics all the time and the players don't know what they're meant to be doing, then that's his. And I know it's like 2 days a week and 2 nights a week and all that kind of stuff, but you never had this problem with James. You never had this problem with
But that's there's an identity how you play. But
you never had that problem with Gary Jordan either, right? So what you've done, that's what I'm saying by it just looks rudderless. So the fact that we didn't have anybody taking the leadership comes for the manager. It has to come for the manager. It can't come for anybody else, right? Yeah. And that's why it's looked at the minute. Right, fair enough. He wanted to get his own guys in. I get that. All managers do, right? And yeah, I totally get the point. And we said it ourselves a couple of pods ago. We never got promoted. That was meant to be the job. See you later, guys. I get that point. But you have to have ready-made replacements to come in that are equally or better than these guys that we got rid of. You've just said for the last 10, 20 minutes, we're soft in the middle. Who would have been ideal in the middle there? Andy Black.
Yeah, Blackie, yeah.
Protects the defence. He protects the two guys in front of him, and that lets them go and do their own thing. At the minute, Jordan and Tappan can't do that because they've got nobody behind. And the two centre-halves when they play can't necessarily cope either because they've got other guys running on top, where Andy Black would have just fed into the middle there. It doesn't have to be Andy Black. It could be somebody, another, who plays in exactly that position, but he's not got it. To not sign a defensive midfielder when you try to play that system is absolutely unfathomable. I cannot understand why he's not done that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we played a diamond out of nowhere against Tenniswear. It was ridiculous. It was totally ridiculous. Like, I could have made a break through the centre of that pitch because we were playing a diamond and the guys were splitting wide. And a diamond's a really, really hard formation to play. Everyone's got to know their roles because it relies if that one's going to, and it looked like it hadn't been worked on. That's what, in fact, I think that's it. The formation changes that have been made look like they've never been worked on, and that's a huge issue. That's desperation for it, and maybe it's Grant Murray not being there. Maybe that's a bigger problem than we ever all thought it was going to be.
Well, the one thing I will say before you jump in is everything can't come back to Grant Murray leaving.
No, it can't. No,
but some of it we can discuss. Well,
some of it can. But like Naismith said that in his interviews himself, or Grant Murray leaving. Well, that's only going to last for so long. We're what now? 7-8 games into the season.
Well, Brian Clough was only really good when he had his right hand man with him all the time. He was the boy that, and when he didn't have him, he was murder.
Aye, but Gary Naismith hasn't had Grant Murray every job he's been at.
I know he's not, but he had. Who did he have?
You know what I mean?
Who did he have him at Queen of the South?
I think it was Laurie Ellis, but no.
So he's got to get. We could go into Crawford and Crawford.
Well, exactly. What's Stevie Crawford doing there? Just sitting on his hands.
Crawford's just going to be a number 2.
Exactly. Anyway, carry on before I get really angry.
That could be a spy in the camp before we move any further. You know what I mean? He's not going to just sit there and be a number 2. Anyway.
Enough of that.
How do you move? I gave you Alec. Liam was going full time. Great, fair play to him. I'm going to let him go. Can't stand him this week. But Callum, however Callum left and just went to a team in the Championship. So that shows how far he came on and progressed, right? The boy who played on goal, the American boy, Team USA now, we've got in the sticks, looks apart, has to play every week, and I'm disappointed we've only got until January. All right, have we not? Have we got him all season? You're looking at me.
We've got him all season. It was in the paper a couple of days ago. We've got him all season.
That's fine. So if we've got him all season, that's good. He's got to play in the sticks every week.
I think it's a year loan with a review period in January.
Right, that's where I picked up. If he's not playing, so he has to play every week unless he starts throwing them in.
Aye.
He's got to play every week because I'll say it, I'll be the bad guy. The other boy's not a good goalie. The other boy's not a good goalie and shouldn't be near the club, in my opinion. Because, and I can go back to saying I've watched City a lot longer than used to. I've seen a lot of good, decent goalies that are a lot better than him that never played. I mean, when I started to go back, when you were watching it, when Gregor was playing, Amos used to sit the bench. Gregor's a better goalie than him.
And he's a midget.
And he's a lot smaller.
He's not getting around it. He's tiny.
Oh, he played in the playoff game, didn't he?
He did.
We were like, what's he doing? He could touch the crossbars. We're being fun, but you know what I mean? He was. So
for goalie's size, he was
for goalie size, right? But he was good. He was good, and he sat on the bench. This boy's no good enough. Full stop. The right back looked good on Friday night for me. Hopefully he'll only get better. Bronski, I'm happy with signing Bronski. Hopefully he can settle in and play with Lee Hamilton every week. And like they form a partnership. You seen how long it took to get Antell into becoming a decent goalie when he had a settle back four in front of him. That's what he's got. You've got to have continuity. But I totally agree with what everyone else was said. We are so soft in the middle. So unless he's going to play Lewis Kidd there when he comes back fit, if he gets fit and put him in the middle beside Tappan, or play one up front and put Tappan and Jardine in there where we've got the best out of Jardine, I don't know. But it comes across very scattergun. And the enthusiasm was very, very thin at the start of the season, and it probably is still quite thin because, like Ali says, if we're bringing in youngsters, why bring in youngsters if we're going to be inconsistent? I don't have a problem with bringing youngsters in, but he's got to have an experienced guy in there. Like, he's going to play Jinky, who Hilton looks good, although he's probably going to infuriate us at times, like he did with his free kick on Friday, which is probably, that went onto the roundabout at Ferry Road. It was that far away, Ken. It went over that corner fly. But if you've got him in there and you've got McFarlane, and McFarlane's no cut, do you know what I mean? You've got a balance there. I just think, I don't know. I really don't know what they've done. I mean, he's just went like that, bang. Blair, whether he doesn't like Blair, he didn't like Blair before at his previous club, who knows, right? But Blair was everybody's cup of tea because it could seem like a right lazy sod at times. I'll try not to swear again in the pod. so we didn't get chucked off YouTube. But if we had Blair against Forfar, we would have won.
Aye.
Because we had that many chances. Now, normally I would sit at Hearts games with my dad, or would sit and watch football with my dad and go, and he hits the nail on the head. You worry when a team's not creating chances, right? But our degree is, I think we're going to create enough chances, and we're just going to, like you're saying, we're not going to have a boy put in the back of the net. And I hope Robertson and Shanley prove us wrong. I really hope they do. And Uzi proves us wrong and started banging them in. But
the issue with that as well, though, is that if you can't score all the chances, that puts us on the back foot. Which means if we're soft going further back, that makes our job more difficult. It's easy to play in the front foot and create chances when you're scoring, but if you have to make sure the other end isn't leaky.
I always thought this year would be different because I expected Naismith to be a bit more expansive than James. Like we said when we got onto the board stuff, I said that to Tom and that. I was like, I expected Gary to be a bit more expansive than James. James was maybe a wee bit more pragmatic. At times it was very much result-based. I've got to practice what I preach. I stand with him supporters and they go, but Neal, you want to be entertained? I went, but I want to see my team win. First and foremost, I want to see my team win. And then if you get the entertainment after that, you breed confidence and then you move on. You could play sulky soccer all you want and get pumped every week. That would be no entertainment for anybody. So I I get why James done what he done, and he was great at what he done. I expected Gary to open the traps up a wee bit more, but no just to go, right, we're just going to take stoppers, right? We're not going to have one. He played with one of the best. It's a City podcast. When he played at Hearts, he played with Salvatore, who was one of the best. If he played at Everton, he would have played with stoppers in front of him at Everton. He's played for Scotland. He would have had stoppers beside him in Scotland. Do you know what I mean? They've not just got guys. We've not just got, no disrespect to Callum Tappin, but we've not just got two Callum Tappins in the middle of the park passing the ball about. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, as I've said before, Callum Tappin is a wonderful football player, but he can't do everything on his own.
Correct.
He needs support, right? All these type of players need support. The one we'll probably move on because we could talk about this all night, but like I said, I just find it a bit rudderless, and I find at times his interviews can be a bit excuses. Like, oh, we've got a young team, you've got to expect them not to play well every week. Well, no, really. You know what I mean? That's you. You're the picking one. You've recruited them. That's on you, pal. Just put your hands up and say I got it wrong. James used to do it all the time. Gary Jardine used to do it all the time. My fault. I've never heard once. I can't even remember Naismith once coming out saying it was my fault.
But it doesn't say a lot for the young lad he's brought in, though, to go.
Well, exactly.
Now,
exactly.
I could understand it with McFarlane because McFarlane's a winger.
Aye.
Right. Who looks the part. Give him his due. But I could understand. He's signed a young winger. We're going to play him. Fair enough. He's inconsistent. Wingers are inconsistent. As long as he keeps trying, maybe be batting in. But you can't say it about the rest of it. We're going to sign young laddies and be inconsistent. That shouldn't wash me anybody.
The thing is, because it probably fits in nicely to the next point, so we'll move on to that, is that enthusiasm for this season amongst the fan base is one of the lowest I've ever seen. Right? We're not exactly a happy clapping fan base, but we're not exactly one of these that gets on at the team all the time. You know what I mean? We're generally, I find we're generally a bit of a balanced kind of fan base, This season, everybody was like, I'm not so sure about this. I'm not so sure about the recruitment. I'm not so sure about Naismith. I'm not so sure about the pricing, which has went up considerably. There's quite a lot of doubt about Friday nights. And I just, if we want Friday nights to be a success, which is what this point is going to be on now, right? This part of the pod, you need to have the team to make sure it's either winning or being exciting. And at the minute, it doesn't really seem to be doing either. Our first crowd on Friday, it's our first Friday, was 313. Right? Now, early days, get that. I'm not going to lie, I'm an opponent of Fridays for a number of reasons, not just because I've got other things to do. That's below our average attendance when we were allowed fans in before COVID. Right? No particularly encouraging start, I would suggest. Especially because we're not winning and we're not scoring. We've put our prices up to £14.11 for the walk-up, which I know it's average for the rest of the league, but at the same point, if you're trying to attract people in, which is different to your normal day, you would expect a better pricing point than 14 and 11. You can go on a Saturday to like Musselburgh Athletic or Bonnyrigg Rose for £7 an adult and £4 a kid or another student. You know what I mean? That's a massive difference. You don't almost half. You pretty much half price, right? And I get that different leagues do all that kind of stuff, but that's fine. There's people who are still going to look at that and go,
Aye.
too expensive. Then we get the season tickets. We were in the last pod championing the bit for season tickets to come out because the Honey came out. We were one of the last teams to release them, and then we make our adult price the most expensive in League Two, after being 2 years ago removed from being the cheapest in the UK. Not just Scotland, the entire United Kingdom. I'm not quite sure how they've decided to come up with this marketing, but that is just, it just blows my mind if you're trying to attract people to just hike up the prices just the way they've done. Ali, you bought your season ticket pretty swiftly. Your view?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I'm in the very fortunate position where at the moment, as it's not always been this way in my life, but at the moment I can afford to buy the season ticket and things like that, which is great. Again, it's not always that being that way. I'll probably make an answer things, and it probably won't always be that way. But I was able to. It wasn't that big a deal. But if you were waiting for that ticket to come in, your budget in, I don't know, it's 200 quid is a lot. £14 is too much for it, and I think the prices are, are lively, to say the least. And I think when you're looking at your point about attracting new fans, that is straight away the price is a barrier. Even if you're amenable to come on a Friday night, the price to pay is a sore one. Even when folk ask me about going on, how much is it? I'm like, it's 14 quid and stuff like that. It's a bit. It's not a great start. What I would say for the couple of points to make, I think on the attendance thing, 313 obviously is not a great number. It'd be interesting to see. The club won't have this. But I don't think the club would have this. In fact, they wouldn't. What the split is between home and away. So we've always relied on quite a lot of away support. Actually, to be honest with you, that's a lot of our big crowds are due to decent away supports coming. That's a real challenge for Friday nights. Like, it's okay for us all to get to Ainslie Park, and it'll be fine for Meadowbank, but it's doable because we all live in the city. For Stennisbury based in Larbert, so you're a bit of a trek through if you finish your work at 5, back at 5. Can you get through to Ainslie Park for quarter? Maybe no. Can you do it from Stirling? You certainly can't do it from Stranraer or all these types of places. So there will be a hit on away fans. I think we've mentioned that previously as well. So I don't think the numbers will look good.
Slightly interject there. I've seen enough on social media, like Stirling Albion, who probably bring the biggest away support for us. They've pretty much said on social media that they're not coming through on Friday. Yeah,
and that's fair enough. You don't. A couple of them will filter through, which is fine. Stirling's not that far away, but it's not all that easy to. I mean, you go to uni there, but it's still not at that time on a Friday. It's not the easiest thing to do for most people. So that will certainly have an issue with it. And then I suppose from a positive point of view, the club must recognise this, because they did. So I think we all saw the advert go out last week or this week for a full-time communications and marketing type manager professional. So at least the club are looking at it, and I hope we get better decisions, and I hope we get a clearer. We've talked about a clear purpose for the team. Let's hope there's a clear purpose in our marketing strategy as well, to try and not just chuck things on Friday night and say it's Friday night football. You need more than that. You need to find ways to get people over the line. Friday night people will pique people's interest. They'll go, oh, that's interesting. Actually, I might be something to do. But what are you actually going to do to get them to commit? That's the hard part. And 14 quid puts them in another direction, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
With the price. So, yeah, a bit of a frustration, but yeah.
Rooney?
I think it goes back to, and I know we discussed this with the board guys, it goes back to, for me, being where we are, facilities, we're paying 14 quid to sit at the moment and have one of the worst views probably in the league. So I could understand if we go to Meadowbank and we're in a 10 row, 5 row, 12 row stand, great view, can get down out the concourse, the amenities are there, all the stuff that the club are talking about doing is there. And you go, well, it's probably worth it for all that. For me, at the moment, You know, it's like we'll put it up just now for the season, knowing we're going back there. But it's, to me, it's not right. Again, does it come down to because they're going to put money into the bank? Is that why they put it up, or are they going to put the playing squad? Doesn't look like it. So why have they put it up? You know, it's. I know we could touch on probably things that we discussed in the board meeting, but you know, it's with no massive fan base as it is, we discussed. You know, and it's a lot of us, dare I say it, I do have split loyalties. So, like Ali's saying, at the moment, I can afford, my circumstances might be different for Ali's and yours, or the three of us might be different next season. We might not be able to afford it. What they're going to do, put up another 30 quid or something next year. You know, it's different if Gary's coming in and as well, and they're playing like Man City or Barcelona vintage. But the product on the pitch is rubbish at the moment. Mm-hmm. Where we sit and where we stand is rubbish at the moment, and we've had an increase, and our playing squad's no better. No. So I can't see any reason why. And again, as well, you go back to Friday nights. Want to play on a Friday night? Fine, try it. Let them try it. Okay, if that's what they want to do. Try it. We've obviously all had our reservations and we've had our moans and we've discussed it with them. But you're not going to attract folk, like you're saying. You're a casual fan, which is maybe trying to attract to get an allegiance with whatever. You're not going to attract that when. I can probably, to be fair, I could probably get to Musselburgh Athletic quicker than I can to Ainsley Park at the moment. So you're not going to attract your casual fan for 14 quid on a Friday night. You could 12 quid. I know it's 2 quid, but
sounds a bit more palatable.
People look
£6. Well, if you think about it, it was £6 for a concession. That was 11.
Aye.
You know what I mean? That's effectively double price, man.
I know. Don't. So,
as I've always bang on about, what you should be trying to do for a club our size is trying to attract families to come. And by moving to a Friday, that's kiboshed that considerably. And it's also stopped, and the pricing point also stops a lot of people too because of that. Now, as we say, from a purely marketing standpoint, you surely have to have a word with yourself and go, 14 and 11, is that going to attract people to come? Probably not. You know what I mean? We've all had conversations with people. That Friday night, maybe sounds not too bad. Maybe pop along. That's £14 for an adult, £11 for a consent. No, chance. Not come for those prices. Why would I do that when I can hang about for Saturday and go to the Rosie Posey for £7?
And dare I say it as well, if they're wanting to attract the casual Hearts or Hibs fan that wants to take in an extra game that might be a concession, they're not going to pay 11 quid for a League 2 game when, like you're saying, they could go to.
Well, as an example, like
sorry,
you know.
Well, dare I say it, we use the swear word, they could probably go to Spartans for cheaper.
Well, you could, but what you would do for? Especially when you have to go watch Ainsley Park, eh? Fuck that. Anyway, what I was going to say there is that just in terms of like pricing for season tickets, like obviously I've got a concession season ticket for this year, right? I was just having a look at some other teams, and I had a look at Carlisle's season ticket because I was only going to pop down to a couple of games because I can get there on a Saturday now because I feel playing on a Friday, right? And their concession season ticket was only £20 more. They're full-time football in English League 2, full-time football, and you get another 4 games. Come on, you know what I mean? And I know everybody else, you can have a look at Airdrie's prices that are absolutely nonsense, Falkirk's prices which are nonsense and all that kind of stuff. But for a club of our size, it's trying to do something different and trying to attract people. I think they've went about it totally the wrong way.
The thing is, right?
They've done it in the reverse. You know what I mean? It should be low point, change your day, and if it works out, then start raising your price. No, raise your price and then move your day. That doesn't make any sense.
At the moment, though, we're not trying to do anything different. All we're doing is playing on a Friday night. Well, that's all it is. We're not, and I get like words are really easy and things, but we're not doing anything different. All we're doing is just playing on Friday. Like what else are we doing? We said it from the start. Said it the second Friday's were announced. You have to try and find a way to make people. If you're trying to attract a different audience, you have to do something to reel them in. You have to. And like I said, we'll be interested to see what comes from the marketing kind of club's position to see, because I think a professional, someone would come and look at that and be like, yeah, we need to do something really different here to try and find a way to bring people in. Yeah, again, like about the location, in the board's defence and in the club's defence, they are hamstrung by where we play. And,
I don't think anybody would
so
deny
we all
that.
know that. So yeah.
Nobody denies that. I think it's just I think knowing that you're going to be hamstrung by Ainsley Park, then we put your prices up.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, part of the reason we don't get as big a crowd as we do is because of the stadium. You know, people don't like, and we know that from conversations, not just because it's Spartans or anything like that. We know from conversations with other people, watching comments online and social media, that people don't like going to Ainsley Park. And that's not just us. You know what I mean? There was like, I saw a comment on Twitter a few weeks ago, it's the worst away day in Scotland because Ainsley Park's a coupe, because they didn't like Ainsley Park. And then folk were like, oh, well, you know, Meadowbank's only going to be like 3 or 4 rows high and all that kind of stuff. But they're like, but there's other things to do round about. You know, that's the difference. And I know
you'd whole match day experience rather than just
you know,
spoils it.
And I think what's important to state with that as well is it's not just about like, oh, we'll go to the pub and get buried from 12 o'clock and then go to the pub afterwards. It's actually about accessibility as well for people who either, because actually often to get to Ainsley Park, even getting off the bus, you've still got a decent walk. If you've got people with mobility issues, that's a real challenge.
Absolutely.
People who, at least Meadowbank is properly served by a good public transport infrastructure, and that's important as well. So it's not just about, oh, lads going to the pub. It is about access to families and to people who might have issues getting to other places. So that's important as well. You know, so I think that is important to. I think that's important to state. It's not just that we want to get buried.
Well,
now we will go to the pub before the game.
We might.
Yeah, right.
But that point is, it's like we said when we first were told that Meadowbank, we were going back to Meadowbank. In the Abbey Hill and Meadowbank area, taking out the pubs, there is a variety of things to do for families.
Go for a spot of lunch before we go.
You can go for a spot of lunch. You know what I mean? There's places you can do that. Right, if you're so inclined that you're with a family, there's some lovely coffee shops, that type of thing. You know what I mean? You can go to the Royal Mile, you can go to the Palace, you can go to Holyrood Park. You can do other things before you get to Meadowbank. If you wanted to make a day of it, if you were a family, say, you could have a day in the Royal Mile, you could walk down the Royal Mile, and then you walk to Meadowbank, which is only 5-10 minutes away. Can't really do that at Ainsley Park, can you?
Yeah, no.
You know?
There was the wee Greek place across from Artisan does a lovely kind of custard-filled pastry thing that you could munch on your way down to the ground as well if you were.
Exactly.
Oh, it's you want to be really high class. You just put a McDonald's before the game.
You could, yeah.
But the thing is, like folk will maybe listen to this and think, oh, they're being facetious or they maybe laugh at it. But it's absolutely valid points. You know, if we're trying to attract families to come to games, there's more things to do. Even if you just want to go like father and son, mother and daughter, whatever, want to go and play pool before a game, right? Watch football on the big screen the afternoon kickoff. Go and have a game of pool. You can do that at the pool hall. It's what, an 8-minute walk?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
8 minutes to Ainsley Park doesn't even get you to Morrison's.
Yeah.
But it barely gets you to Morrison's, you know what I mean? But anyway, right, so we had that. So we'll probably be easier going on to the board meeting because it kind of involves into things with that. So first of all, as we said before, myself and Neal had a meeting with Tom, Jim Brown, Callum, and Colin Campbell for the club. It was a pretty decent meeting. You know, lots of things across. Encouraging, I would suggest. So what we can say is obviously the initial point of the meeting was obviously ostensibly Friday nights. So if we'll start with that and then we can move on to other things. What they're hoping for when they go to Meadowbank, and this is why Meadowbank is so huge for the club, is that with us being the main tenant down there, we're going to be getting some kind of leeway to do things round about. So there's a hope for a fan zone, hospitality arrangements are improved. There's other things that they can do round about that they can adjust within the stadium that they can't do at Ainsley Park. So to attract people, that's going to be massive. You know, essentially we're going to be, as it is the main tenant, all our teams are going to be based there. We're going to be the focal point for the community. So if we're going to become a community club, being back to Meadowbank's another good idea. We're hopefully going to be building the stand opposite the main building. Not sure when, but for as architects have been instructed, haven't they? So I was encouraging about Meadowbank. I think the whole club's going to be based there. Operations are going to be based there, for what I can gather. Or if not, I'll certainly be close by. So Meadowbank is a huge thing, as we've already spoke about. Other things to touch on, maybe not now since James has left, but part of the purpose of Meadowbank as well is we're hopefully going to be starting the academy. Bringing youths in if we're going to be a focal point for the community, as we said, getting younger players in there. If we're going to be self-sufficient, we need to start producing our own players and with the ability to sell them on. What else was our academy? I'm trying to remember the minutes. Was academy minutes?
Everybody would play there. Women under 28.
Oh, that was it. Obviously, there's plans to go full time, which I think everybody knew anyway. But it's going to be a hybrid one initially. Not sure when that's going to start, but as you can see, we've already lost Liam Brown because of it. I dare say if we could offer Liam Henderson maybe full time terms, he might have stayed as well. So that's a concern. But if we can get full time going soon, that's good. Anything else, Rooney, you want to add now? I'll get the minutes up.
You get the minutes up. I don't know. The guys are quite optimistic for the future, and they've certainly got big plans. I'll make sure you get the minutes up before I drop the ball on anything. We're not getting paid as a podcast, which is disappointing.
Right. If we take it one by one, shall I take it one by one?
Yeah, go for it.
Right. So, say the academy, that's going to be a priority. Community, we've got 450 youth players across the city, alongside the women's team, the first team, the under-20s. The club are obviously providing strips and support for them. If we're going to become a community-based team, then this is obviously key. The ethical stance is probably pretty good. That's going to allow us to get different types of sponsorships. So we're hoping that's a thing. Friday nights, as we mentioned, obviously we didn't really have much choice to play at Ainsley Park because there's only 3 licensed SFA grounds in Edinburgh, and that is Tynecastle, that other one, and Ainsley Park. So what they did want to get over was it was an apology for a lack of fan consultation on Friday nights. Things came about really quickly, although it'd be kind of mooted about. It came really quickly. Both me and Neal said we were concerned about the novelty factor wearing off. It's something the club have decided they're going to go for, so that's fine. Obviously, I think they're hoping for a huge, big, massive
a bounce when we go to Meadowbank.
Yeah, and that's really where the key is. Plans are still to move back to Meadowbank on the 1st of November. Things are gathering at pace for what I can see walking by. They've already started painting the track and all that type of thing as well.
Turnstile,
it looks like a turnstile. It looks like a turnstile's been built.
Rogue reporter Ash Wilson.
Yep.
Had pictures up of a turnstile, which looks more complete than some of the rest of the Meadowbank, to be fair. So
yeah. Anything else? Thomas Keating stressed that this isn't to try and get Hearts and Hibs fans along. This is to try and get more casual fans or other people who normally who can't go on a Saturday to go. All right, I think there was a few disagreements. Even the news has reported it a couple of times, but that's to say that's unsurprisingly for evening news wrong.
Yep.
Timeline, football philosophy, as we've said, hybrid, aggressive style. Colt teams, which I'm sure everybody will be delighted to hear. The pyramids. No. Essentially, what it is, to cut a long story short, is that integrity of the pyramid is paramount, and that's got to come first. So we'll not be getting them jettisoned in. No. We also mentioned some things that we've been concerned about as fans. Lack of a refund for season ticket holders with a shortened season. Prices, maybe
GoFundMe.
Then the GoFundMe came and all that kind of stuff. So I think there was a general perception amongst other fans that we've spoken to that there was a wee bit that we were getting a bit taken for granted. So we managed to get that over at the club. I was keen to mention that maybe a good way to get people in would be like ticket competitions on Twitter or Instagram or something. Repost this or retweet this to win a ticket for you and your pal. It's an easy way. It doesn't cost the club a lot. If they like it, they might go. You know what I mean? That's how I started going back to the Speedway. I won a ticket, went there, loved it again, got a season ticket. I'm not going to be the only one in that boat that would do that if we win the ticket competition. Doesn't matter what sport it is. So, I think the Edinburgh Cup always had success doing it too. But anyway, so I think overall, that's obviously a very quick run through, but my perception was I felt really positive coming out of the meeting. I think the club's in the right hands. I like the direction Tom is taking the club. There's obviously big plans, they're ambitious plans. I think some people maybe say maybe a bit too much, but I'd rather see ambition than middling along than like some other teams do. Obviously, the one thing we've got to get is get the team right in the park first. But what was your view, Rooney?
No, I thought it was very productive. I think we probably done Ali proud because we didn't let them off easy. Ali was sitting on my shoulder at times when I was replying, and good Ali was sitting there going, so I was a bit in the middle at times. But yeah, to be fair, no, they were good to us, and it was a very, very good discussion. But they took all our points on board. We know them well enough. We know the guys well enough. They speak. Everybody plays a lot of games and stuff like that. Whether they do anything, it has to be seen now. It's whether the top is sheep or not. So, but it was an interesting experience. And after my technical difficulties at the start, eventually got working. But it was they took our points on board. And
the one thing I will say is I was quite impressed the fact that they were willing to meet us.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of fans, all sports fans in general, not just football fans, but I think football tends to have it worse than others. Is that they always complain that there's not enough fan consultation or enough talk with fans or anything like that. The fact that they were willing to meet us to share their views and allow us to then share views that came out of that is a massive plus point for the club. And I think we've all got concerns over what's going on in the last few weeks and all that, but the fact that we're willing to come out and speak to us, I think says a lot about the owner and the board, because they could have easily just went, no interest, it's got nothing to do with you, I'm in charge. They didn't do that. Other clubs, we can probably mention Edinburgh, have a tendency to speak down to their fans or ignore their fans completely. We didn't. And I think even in general, even though we don't have necessarily regular meetings all the time.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Obviously, we did have, but we can still approach the chairman, and he'll still speak to us. It's not just a case of beat it, I'm the chairman kind of idea, which you maybe get elsewhere. And I think I know it's like a small fan base. We've not got a lot of fans and all that kind of stuff, but I still think it's a good positive. I don't think any fan walking up to Jim would turn them away. Not just the fact that we're Kent faces or anything like that. I think he would talk to anybody who came up to him, because that's just the way he is.
We had that with the previous chairman.
But that was part of the reason why I kept going, is because Jack came up and spoke to us. It's like, I don't often get chairman come up and speak to you. You know what I mean? No. I mean, it's just, what's this? I got to vote in the Player of the Year awards and all this kind of stuff because we've been a few weeks. This is brilliant.
Oh, thanks. Yes, I'll step into the boardroom, no bother. Be the one that's most badly dressed.
Anyway, yes. Al, are you for a chance to view the minutes? Listen to your blather. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think as much as the team lacks clarity on the pitch, there is a clarity of vision off the pitch in terms of where the club wants to go, which is really good. I think when you look at the minutes, if we achieve half of what they're looking at, then I think they'll actually have done really well. I like all the stuff. I think the fact that all of the teams will be based out of Meadowbank makes a big difference. I think that'll be a huge boost for us. And for me, it's about, I'd like to see a real focus on getting the fan experience right, and it does seem to be a bit more focus on that Meadowbank will give us a bit more freedom to do that. We will be the main tenants, the principal tenants at Meadowbank. It's going to be the jewel in the crown of kind of Edinburgh, certainly Edinburgh Leisure. You see, I use Edinburgh Leisure myself, and the posters are going up now, starting to get people excited about it. It will be a great community asset, and hopefully the club can play a big part in it. I've got my doubts about the full time, even a hybrid level. I don't see it, to be honest with you. Happy to be proved wrong. I don't know where the money would come from. With that, I can't see how we would ever be able to sustain, because what you don't want to be doing is relying on soft loans and handouts from you want it to be sustainable. So I don't see how we get sustainable full time. Maybe hybrid. Would Airdrie do it? Raith Rovers, maybe, but you kind of need to be top end of League One, kicking about into the bottom end of the Championship to sustain that. So I'd be very surprised if we get to that in any time soon. But you know what, the club, it's good with the ambition. So really positive. Obviously, great the board were able to spend some time to speak to us. The thing is, I think we've got to remember, these guys have other things to do, other jobs. They're not full time running Edinburgh City. So, and I think we do cut them a bit of slack with it, but it's great to see the plans in place. It's been well driven. I think if we can start to some small positive changes, and we keep talking about it, but it's such a big thing for the club, the move back to Meadowbank. If we can get that right and get the right early, that makes such a big difference. Get started really positive, and it makes all these other plans the club have got that much easier to achieve if you can get off to a good positive start. So yeah, hopefully, and what obviously I said earlier, this marketing manager, communications manager, whatever the job title is, obviously the hope is that they're in before the move to Meadowbank, so that there can be a proper launch for it, and that would help with some of these plans. But yeah, credit to the board for giving the time to chat and allowing us to release almost everything that was talked about at the meeting. So.
I mean, as you say, it's right. I know there was some doubters elsewhere in the world of the internets doubting about going back to Meadowbank. I don't see how, to be honest. I think like for all my Edinburgh City supporting days, I don't think I've ever seen an announcement so universally welcomed. Not just the fans, everybody in Scottish football. I mean, there was people just piling in on social media. Fans for like Stenhousemuir, I think, still in Albion. I think we even had Clyde supporters saying, "Well done, I'm glad you're going back." You know what I mean? And you know what they're like. Sorry, guys. But you know what I mean? The fact that it was like other supporters saying, "This is brilliant for you guys. Can't wait to get an away day to Meadowbank. That's where you belong," and all this kind of stuff. I know we go on about all the time, but we just cannot understate just how huge this is going to be.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that. Oh, so we're all a bit sentimental. We got promoted there and all this kind of stuff, but but in the same respect, it's going to be a brand new facility, up to the date stuff for the guys to go in and train as well, I believe. And that's going to be the same for all the teams. It's just a big, huge positive, really. Yeah. And everything, if they get it right, everything stems for that. You can really just see it just kind of evolving, just in the right way, really. So fingers crossed. Anyway, right. That's that. A very whistle-stop tour of what we had. Should we do the quick player focus just to give something nice with the players? Anybody who listens to this, because I know you do. I was told.
You were told in between carrying on.
Some of you do listen. Not specifically going to pick on anybody. You know who you are. I thought I'd do a player focus. I think I've got two players down here. So we can start with John Robertson. He's probably not going to score as many goals as his namesake, but he looks lively, he looks aggressive, he gets into good positions, he links up play very well. He's going to take a booking a few times, I think, just by keeping his foot in. But I think that's something that we've needed for a long time up front. We've never really had that. Blair was never like that. Alan Smith was never like that.
No.
So who else do we have up front?
Ross Allam.
Ross Allam did like a bit of shithousery, but it was a different type of shithousery.
It was, fucking hell. Shepherd was a bit. Shepherd was a bit like that. It was. There was similarities there with the way he uses his body and stuff. So.
So I think Roberts is a positive. Rooney?
I think it's a positive. I hear he's more of a local lad as well. So, as I said, he's a hardy bastard. He missed it, and I hope he finds his goal scoring touch. Because he went through, he had a great chance against Stenny. I mean, he turned the boy brilliant and had a great chance, and we were like, just stick it. And he went near post with his right foot, and you're like, Kenny's got to just rocket it with a left peg, sonny. So, I'm being pleasantly surprised in a good way. So, you can see he's going to, as a minimum, he'll run his cell at the ground every week. which is something that we don't always, which was maybe a criticism for Blair and things like that previously. So hopefully he finds his goal scoring touch. But very impressed so far.
Ali?
Yeah, I think he looks. He's a type of striker I really like, and I think can add real value to the team. Will be an absolute pest to play against. I think what you really want to make sure is that all of the running that he does is not in vain, and that's not on him. That's on the rest of the team. That's on the coaching to make sure that if he's pressing up, if he's putting fullbacks under pressure, that we're winning the ball, the out ball that's played and things like that. Because a couple of times we've seen him, he's done really well to press the centre half or press the fullback. The fullback's played a bit of a lazy ball or just a bit of an escape ball, but they've still picked up the second ball, which there's no, which is wasting the boy's energy. You want him to. The rest of the team need to be following that. So hopefully, these guys play with him a bit more and spend a bit of time on the training pitch. That will come in and make him even more effective. I don't think there's anything to suggest he's going to score a lot of goals, if I'm honest with you, and I don't really mean that as a dig against him. It's just I don't think it's really his game. You don't get many players who run about that much and are deadly composed goal scorers. It just doesn't really happen, certainly in League Two level anyway. Obviously bits about him being maybe had a few issues at previous clubs. That was mentioned in when he signed actually. But let's just hope that if there has it, and I don't know anything about those, and would obviously give him a clean start anyway. Like I'm not going to prejudge him or anything, but you just hope that if there are issues that he does have his head screwed on, that you can see. We talked about this in slightly happier times about how with the moves from like Liam Brown and from Liam Henderson, that actually if you play well at a club like Edinburgh City, you can get noticed and you can work your way back up the leagues. That's got to be someone like his aim, because he obviously was pretty highly regarded as a youngster, and it hasn't gone right for him. So this is his chance now to kick on. I think a warning shot to him or should be some of the guys who have come down and haven't kicked on and now have dropped down. So we've seen guys like, Alex Harris, for example, came down to this level, didn't shine, and has dropped down and won't get, he's not going to come back up the leagues ever. To be honest with you, and I know he's a bit older than John is, but that's the kind of the two scenarios there. Is he going to be able to kick on and get his career back on track? Let's hope so. But I've been really impressed with him so far. His attitude's first class. If he gets us 10 goals this season, I'd be absolutely delighted, to be honest. That might be a stretch for him, but yeah, I think he's very much the end. His place in the team. He's made he's papered over some of the cracks from the rest of the team, to be honest with you.
Aye. Fair enough. I can't say fair on that. I was going to say that the other player I had Mark Doon was a goalkeeper, but I think we've covered that one off. The only thing I need to find out is exactly how to pronounce his surname. Now, when he signed, I was told it was Schweik, right, and that's how you would think it was. When I listened to parts of the highlights,
the voice of Edinburgh City pronounces it.
We got it Shawaki. I think we had Shaky Wiki in there. Shawak. I was like, Jesus, man. So if anybody would be kind enough to give us a proper pronunciation, we'd be delighted.
Just type it out.
Should we not ask our resident United States Edinburgh City fan, Mike Slavin?
Well, we could ask Mike.
Just if he knows how to.
It might not necessarily be an American surname. That's the thing, eh?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So. Well, we could do actually, but do you know what I mean? I think it's when I listened to part of the highlights, I'm pretty sure I heard 4 different pronunciations of how it came out. So who knows? Right. So on to that. Wee bit about the women's team. 2 wins, 2 games played, 7 goals. Like we said the last time, entertainment, thrills and spills. When you go and see the women.
Yeah. When they go back to Middlebank, please go and watch the women's team. You will enjoy yourself. In a positive way, for not being facetious or take the piss, put the ball on the deck, play football, entertaining to watch, score goals, everything you want to see in your football team. Go and watch them.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got the live stream, I think, when they're at home. I missed on Sunday for other reasons, obviously.
Just a shame it's not a bit closer. You know what I mean?
It is. I think Broxburn, I think they said that one of the players, if I can remember right who it was, I'm not going to say a name without remembering really. There was a post-match interview and they were saying, "Can't wait to get back to Meadowbank." You know, Broxburn's a wee bit far out the way. Meadowbank's going to be easier for folk on a Sunday to go and watch.
Better than watching Millionaires football on the telly with all these guys in the English Premier League being prima donnas. Get along.
You know me. I try not watch any of that league as best I can.
Exactly. So get along and watch girls playing entertaining football.
Absolutely, and they certainly do play entertaining football. As we say, we're not being facetious. They play really, really good football. You know, there's a lot of ball on the deck, a lot of passing around. You know, they score lots of goals. It's encouraging. I know from our meeting, as we said with the board, they think they can maybe go up the pyramid quick. Early signs suggest they've got a chance.
Yeah.
Need to see how the rest of the teams are, I guess, I suppose. But certainly early signs are they've played pretty well. So, anything you want to add?
I think it's worth saying that their social media content's been really good. Actually,
excellent.
I think it's worth keeping, and it's worth following them on, I don't know if it's Twitter, but on Instagram and stuff like that. They seem to be keeping everybody up to date well, which is good. That just keeps people engaged. And again, like we said, we go back to Meadowbank, etc. But yeah, certainly. Actually, look what the Instagram is. I could probably find the Instagram now. So EFC_women is the Instagram, so I would follow that. So it's decent for getting proper team sheets up now as well, which is good. You know, updates on next games and things like that, little bits from some of the players and stuff like that. So yeah, it's certainly worth adding them to your follow list on social media. So fair play to them, because that's, again, you know, they obviously, I don't know who's doing it, but it's just volunteers that are doing that kind of stuff. So, but if they can get that, keep up to date, people are engaging with it, you know, that makes it all the worthwhile.
Absolutely. If you're on Twitter, it's at ECFC Women. And as you say, the content's usually pretty good. Aye. So there we are. Right. Move on to what could be the unentertaining part of the show. Mr. Monk's Moans. On you go.
I'm going to say, because we've moaned about this, the team's rubbish. Like, we are crap, and there's no recruitment's terrible. Everything's going. I hate Ainsley Park. All this stuff. I had no idea when we're getting back to Meadowbank. But we know this. Do you know what I'm going to moan about? Moan about Kelty Hearts, who have got enough money to pay players extraordinary wages, absolutely extraordinary wages. Lord knows who. Well, exactly. And they can't even put a stream on for Saturday. What a lot of absolute nonsense. You know, the streams, we've all talked about the benefit of actually being able to have these streams where people can't get to games, all that kind of stuff, whether it's travel. Obviously, in the current climate, people are still not wanting to travel a huge amount if they can and things. And how can they possibly not have a stream on for us for Saturday? An absolute piece of nonsense. You know, I think that's a club that's into the league, obviously very ambitious and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that it's going to be a particularly pleasant away day anyway for most people. I don't think, you know, Keeper's got a huge amount.
Wait, whisper it. That's because it's in 5.
Bob's he used to get like these at the Wild West. Or maybe I'll do one for like the video. But you know, you used to get the Wild West, like the brown paper with the wanted signs. There's actually one of Bob in every town in Fife. Well,
I was in Fife at the weekend, and there was one in. Actually, I drove over in.
There's actually one in your mum in your old boy's kitchen, is there not?
Yeah.
For anybody that maybe doesn't know, this all relates to ice hockey. All right, but anyway, carry on, Ali. You were saying.
Well, they do have television in Fife and the internet. I can assure you.
No toilets.
So yeah, no. Just about. I'm still outside ones though. So no excuse for Kelty Hearts not to have a stream on. Really, really poor. I know we probably won't spend. We've had a bit of a rivalry with some of the you know, for example, Cole. There was a little bit of needle that came down and stuff like that. We probably won't have that with Kelty because they're just going to batter us. So we'll be insignificant to them because they're going to be miles ahead of us this year. But that won't stop me thinking they're a bunch of fucking dicks. All right.
Well, do you know what? It's like you hit the nail on the head. We're still coming out of the pandemic, right? Yeah. Cases are going up again, right? So regardless of what may happen or may not happen, right? People aren't comfortable travelling. Kelty isn't easy for people who don't drive because not everybody wants to drive to the away game. You know? People's working patterns have changed because of COVID. So not everybody can necessarily make a Saturday at 3, which is part of the reason, I guess, why we're doing Fridays. But on that note, it's a positive for Fridays, I guess, using that. But you know what I mean?
It's the podcast. We finished on a positive. Cheers, guys.
We're just on a positive bit for Fridays. That's it, guys. Right? No, but you know what I mean? There's other things. I believe they're the only one not to do a stream. I might be wrong.
Well, as far as I'm aware, I've not seen anybody else not do a stream.
Because we do one, and we do it as part of our season ticket, as well.
Yeah.
So if you can't go to a game, you still get to do it. Forfar have done one. Albion Rovers have done one. I think Elgin are definitely doing one because they're not allowed. Still in Albion have done one. Clyde done it. I mean, I just can't fathom it. Anyway.
It's nonsense. So
Used to say in 3 months' time we'll be back to square one and I'll be shut down again.
Well, that's exactly right. Anyway, Rooney's rants.
What can I rant about that I've not? Probably, it would have been nice to have a stream on Saturday. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want the extra money and stuff.
I've got that much money. What does it matter, eh?
I know.
Yeah.
30 quid or whatever for 3 years. I'm a bit cheesed off that there's a lack of continuity because my enthusiasm wears really thin, probably as much as the rest of us. Just a bit of continuity would have been great. Or we're getting rid of everybody now, getting everybody here. Like we said in the last podcast, Plan A, get promoted, we sign X, we keep X, we do this. Plan B, we didn't, we've got X. It was like that. It's flicking a switch, eh? And it didn't happen, and it's not happened. We're too soft. I would like to see him play the same team 2 weeks in a trot. Now, whether that's because injuries in there and he's trying to get buys in, Bronski playing in the middle beside Hamilton, Kieran at right back, probably Rabbit left back or left midfield, but Callum at left back, one of the other. Team USA in goals. The other boy can, I don't care, but the other boy can do the oranges or something. I don't care. Give him something to do. And find a bit of continuity in front. All right. So, I mean, I could really more. It shows you how much we I could go back to the goal. It shows you how much we really, to a degree, when Callum become stable and more confident and got better, how much we probably took him for granted for having a good goalie. Shows you how much having a good goalie you take for granted because, you know, Brian's made some excellent saves at the weekend, but if Callum had done that, you would go, Callum's had a good game. It's only because we've had something that's not. Do you know, I can relate it to Craig Gordon as well. Do you know what I mean? I can relate it to so many other teams that you watch and go. But my biggest rant is, and I know Ali always says that the supporters club lean towards a hard tackling central midfielder, and that's what we like. But
what we're missing.
I'm pissed off we don't have one because that's if we don't sign one or Lewis Kidd doesn't go in there to do that job. I'm not going to say we'll get relegated. I'm not going to say we'll be in a relegation battle, but we're going to get run over every week, and it's going to be really, really hard to watch every week. And this is not me ranting. This is maybe me being. I wonder who brought Stevie Crawford in, whether the club brought Stevie Crawford in or Gary brought him in.
We'll find out, I guess.
We'll find out because to me, a guy who's been a manager to be fair, the two of them have been managers of the Championship. But that seems to, he's out of a job, he's quite high calibre as well, let's get him in. As to where Grant Murray had been coaching somewhere and working with Hibs rather than being a manager somewhere. So I don't want the guy to fail, I don't want the guy to lose his job, I want the guy to do really well, I want us to get promoted, I want us to do really well. But
in terms of losing his job, if he doesn't win the next couple of games,
he'd be a Shigley.
He's on a Shigley.
He should be a
He's on a Shigley. If the questions aren't already getting asked now, regardless of how good that season was last year when he came in, we need to be asking those questions.
If we've got aspirations of getting promoted, right? Like granted, we won the other night, so we're 3 points behind Kelty, right?
But we're not getting promoted this season. There's no way.
The thing is, what you've got to remember, anything other than second place, and he's taking us backwards.
Aye.
He's taking us backwards.
What I'm trying to say is, though, if the club had aspirations of getting promoted this season to potentially going into 3 games into the season and being 6 points behind the league leaders is a problem. It's a massive problem. It needs to be looked at from the top. Now, Callum Tappin had a bit in his article saying there's good players there. I don't hide the fact of that. I think there is, and I think the laddies are good players, but there's not enough experienced pros in there to coach them through games, and there maybe no the right experienced pros. I mean, can we see Torsty playing a full season? You can see Bronski playing if he can keep himself fit, obviously with his work and stuff. Hamilton as well, but you can't see Torsty playing a full season. Why not keep Balatoney? Who went another guy? Well, another guy. If he's
he went up the way. He went up the way. He's
not going to play every week.
What
experienced head in there. You put him there.
That's what we're missing. And that's no slighting in the rest of the guys. Is that sometimes you just need one who's going to take the team and kind of.
But you
I tell you what, this is what we'll do. A bit like what Joe did. A bit like what Joe did when he came in. He took the team and kind of like played at that higher level and kind of sorted them out to kind of say, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, and kind of guide people through games. At the minute, we've not really got that.
Torsty has played at a higher level as well.
Aye, but he's not going to necessarily play every week.
My point being, if you wanted to bring in Bronski, we've got rid of Liam, he brings in Bronski to play with Hamilton every week, and you've still got Balatoney sitting there, knowing that you can only maybe get 10 games out of him at most. Fine. But it's like we've brought in Torsty, who doesn't look as good as him, and there's another guy who's went above. That's probably my rant, probably should be. All these guys that we've let go, probably apart from Blair,
have all went up the way.
Liam and Callum have went up. Balatoney's went up. Mark Laird's went to Southern Albion, which is a travesty, because even if he wasn't going to play every week, he'd still do you a job for so much of the season.
Blackie signed a 2-year deal for Kelty.
Blackie would still do us a job in the middle of the park beside Tappin just now, because we don't have anybody else, unless Lewis Kidd's going to come in and prove us wrong and play there. Like Ken all about it when he plays right back on Saturday again. But and Blair, I ken we're going on about, and the other part is we didn't get promoted, but you can only get rid of guys surely if you're going to bring in, like you said, equal or better. And we've not done it. We've just not done it.
Yep.
I mean, we could moan all night, but
right, okay then. So we'll not.
I don't have one thing to more rant like Ali had.
Aye. Well, in terms of Bobby's bonus, there's not much. I was going to moan about the Kelty team. They can get ruffled, I'm afraid. That's pure power. So anything really? No, you all know my feelings on Friday night, so I'm not going to be changing my view on that really. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be changing my usual Friday night for that. So, some folk will say, well, go and support your team. Well, I am. I've already bought my season ticket and I go and support the team that is my Friday night team, who have been on Friday nights since before I was born. So, that's enough for that. So anybody who can doubt my commitment can go and fuck off, personally, because I've seen it already.
We did say that. We did bring that up as well. But we did say novelty in the board meeting, didn't we? But we did mention about culture. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's a big thing. You know what I mean?
The League Two team in Scotland, the team that's going to break the culture in Scottish football.
You know,
we'll wait and see.
I mean, the amount of people that said Saturday at 3 o'clock was the attraction because it doesn't get shifted about. There we go. You know, but anyway, right, that's just me. I thought I'd have a wee mini rant because I know there've been some question marks over. Well, you really should be going to support your football team. No, I'll make the fucking choice. Not you. I'll decide. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's into my fucking abuse and fucking social media.
We need to put a disclaimer on this one to say this colourful language. Taken off of it.
Well, I needed to have that wee outburst. Anyway, right, on to probably our second last wee bit, because I've got to do housekeeping after that. But anyway, as we promised, obviously James McDonald has left the club. I'm not shy, no apologies for saying I was a huge fan of James after my initial tweet when he first came in going, who's this boy?
What we played balls against for Maitland.
No, it's like, who's this boy?
He's an ex-bowler.
Never heard of him. Hibs, Falkirk, pish. Right, but no, obviously, unquestionably, he totally turned the team around that season. We were heading for the trapdoor, no question. I think it's a mark on the man himself when he said his greatest ever achievement wasn't getting to the semi-final and the penalty shootout away for the National Cup final. It was keeping us in the league when they came in, you know. And then after that, we had 2.5 seasons. Obviously, some cut short by COVID. COVID intervened, but we saw a classic player that we'd never really seen before.
Yeah.
He'd attracted all these different players. We saw a style of football we probably hadn't seen for a long time. And yes, at times it could be there's no plan B and a bit turgid at times, but we did have a tendency to score a lot of goals. We did create a lot of chances.
A lot of clean sheets.
We knew, had a lot of clean sheets. We knew how we were going to play. You know, the culture of the club changed entirely because of James. We've got a standard set that needs to be matched, that currently it's not been, and folk are like, that's just because you were spoiled. No, we're not spoiled. We've got a manager in here who turned it around to bring these standards to the club, you know, and we've got a huge amount to be thankful for James. You know, we're like our highest ever league positions, first time in the 4th round of the Scottish Cup, beat our highest ever person in terms of rankings in the league in the leagues when we beat Dunfermline. Obviously, it was mentioned that European tie away at Connors Quay, where we probably should have won if it wasn't for them dirty bastards kicking us off the park. It's cracking away day though. Lovely. Exceptional. Anyway, just unfortunately the penalty shootout, I hate them at the best of times. And Edinburgh City and penalty shootouts, as we know, generally don't go, as it always happens. Anyway, so yeah, I think everything was going to start changing. Moved to the sporting director role, probably obviously wasn't for him, but when you're hearing about setting up an academy, you're like, that's James's role. That's kind of his remit. He's good at it. That's what he's came from.
Yeah.
That's what he's going back to at Hibs. So it's a massive thank you from me. I'll probably get a wee bit more misty-eyed shortly. Rooney?
No, I don't think you can add anything to that. Just thank the guy for what he's done. And like you say, Gary was fantastic, and we probably all have a soft spot for watching the Strollers now and hoping they do well because of him and Joe and Ross and the other Ross. But when James came in and took it to the next level, so fair play to him, and he kept us up, which was great. Had some great days since, which is good. So aye, so good luck to the guy, even though he's going to them.
Yes, Alistair.
Yeah, I think it was. You touched on it, but it was the standards and the professionalism that he brought to the club that I think was totally different. And I think that did change how a lot of players saw Edinburgh City, and a lot of players remarked on Edinburgh City being run like a full-time club, you know, like a professional club in a part-time division. And then no disrespect to Gary Jardine, but that wasn't where Gary came from. You know, James has come from a full-time football, very professional background. He brought that into the club, and it did work. It did work wonders. It's a real. I think he ran out of steam at the end. I think it was time for him to go as manager anyway. If I'm honest with you, or it was time for the club needed a refresh. I think, you know, when Naismith took over, we were outside the playoff places and actually weren't playing particularly well. I think with the sporting director role, you know, James said himself, he wasn't. It was like the club were just trying to do something to keep James, to give him a full-time role where it maybe wasn't clearly defined enough. You know, he was obviously wanting to get back on the training pitch, and so look, there's no doubt about it. It's a huge blow to lose somebody of James's calibre. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I actually think if he'd got us into League One, I think we would have been, his style of play would have really suited being a slightly, you know, almost slightly weaker team. He was so good at setting up teams to play. Like, you know, we were putting some incredible performances under James where we were not the favourites. You know, some really, really strong performances where we were disciplined. Our technique was good. The shape was tremendous. We were solid, and that was where he was at his best. So I actually think if we got us into League One, we could have had a really, you know, so. But you know, ifs, buts, and maybes. But yeah, everyone at the club should have a huge thank you to James for all the work he's done. Yeah, did turn the club around, and it's just exactly as you said, Bob. It's just the standards that he's set and the professionalism that he's brought in that has to be maintained. That can't be allowed to slip, because that's when, you know, that goes very, very quickly as well. It doesn't take much for that to disappear. So yeah, sad to see him go. I can't say I was overly surprised at the news, if I'm honest with you. It didn't I just didn't get the vibe that the sporting director thing was really for him. I think I said I don't think it was just clearly defined enough role. There's lots of talk of it's a wide remit doing this with the academy, this with the women's teams and things, but was the structure even there for him to actually do anything? It probably wasn't at the moment. It probably came too soon for him, that kind of role. So look, good luck to him back at Hibs. He's obviously I think he's a pro licensed coach, so he's got, there's not a huge amount of them about in Scotland, so he was always going to be a man in demand. But yeah, sad to see him go. Wish him all the best, and I think when you look back in however many years' time, we look back at the history of Edinburgh City, that will be one of the pivotal moments is when James comes in, and I just hope it's a pivotal moment that we kick on from. That his legacy is that professionalism, that we are a well-established club in the Scottish leagues and on our way up, basically. So yeah, a great servant to the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I spoke to him a number of times off the pitch. He was a lovely guy. He really was. I think it was a mark of him, the man again. As I said, there was a supporters club fundraiser a while back. The team were away at Peterhead, and after that big long slip down from Peterhead, James made sure to turn up. You wouldn't often get that with a lot of other guys, but James did, and that was can't say fair than that. I mean, that's an incredible effort. So yeah, as I know, I'm not shy. I'm bitterly disappointed he's gone. Can maybe appreciate the reasons why, but as you say, losing a guy of his calibre, especially for a club of our size, doesn't necessarily come along often. So losing him's a huge blow, but wish him all the best. Unfortunately, to be at Hibs. Lucky it was even Spartans, that would be even worse. But no, as you say, he's turned the club around. Standards are set. He's been key for the last 2 or 3 seasons. He's been awfully unlucky. We're on its team the first season, I think, just because the squad was a little bit small. Second season was cut short by COVID, and they had that ridiculous vote that made sure we didn't get promoted. When there was probably a better than puncher's chance, we would have been up through the playoffs that season, I think. Last season was up and down, but then COVID hit again. You're right, we weren't great. We're just outside the playoffs. Okay, I can maybe see the thing back, but in essence, he only really had one full season. One full season at the helm, if you look at it, and that was a great season. That was the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup and all that kind of stuff. That game against Alloa was brilliant. We took Inverness to replay, and so on. Yeah. So wish him all the best. He's a great guy. Hope he does well. Would love to see him back possibly at some point. Before we go, anything to add?
No, I don't think so. I think the electronic ticketing seems to be working quite well, though. The fan base app is quite handy, even for me, just to check what our upcoming fixtures are. I'm trying to arrange what my Friday nights are. Just you can log in and just see what's coming up. So that's good. I'd like to see a few more things come through on the app, though, and a few more. So, I like the kit. You look very nice there, Rooney. For those watching on YouTube, the new kit is decent, and suggest anyone who is a medium in Adidas, you better be a large in Macron, just so you know. So go one size up from your Adidas gear, I would suggest.
Makes no odds to me. I can't fit into them. Anyway, before we go, congratulations to Robbie McIntyre on being named club captain. I think we all said he'd probably be the choice if we were given it. So it's great to see Rob. He's a lovely guy. Not saying that because me and Rooney sponsor him or anything like that, which is another announcement we can make. Me and Mr. Rooney will be sponsoring the club captain for home and away for this season. Obviously, because Blackhead disappeared.
We'll not be getting into any of his stops. He'll probably into a medium or something, and we'll need to stick the two of them together.
A slim fit, aye.
Guys, put both of them together, I probably still couldn't get into them. Anyway, it sounded like it was only because Blackhead left. No. So, we're sponsoring him. It was great to see him named club captain. I think he'll do a great job.
Is he good in the karaoke?
He's actually no bad, aye.
There you go.
Aye.
That's very good.
If
you remember.
But no, I did the wee sing song during the YouTube videos, mind. Remember, I had a wee bit of that and that. It was
right.
And he sung at the Play of the Year Awards a couple of years ago as well. So he obviously quite fancies himself in that regard. This is a total diversity. What are we talking about? Anyway, so I think he's going to be a good ambassador for the club, certainly. He's a pretty level-headed guy, speaks well. You really need a club captain, to be honest. You know, when somebody's going to represent the club well, and I think Rob will do that.
Yeah.
In terms of us coming to the end, a little bit of housekeeping as usual. If you would like to join the supporters club, email us clubcitizens@yahoo.com. DM us on Twitter @clubcitizens. It's free to join. The only thing you need is your email. Should there be any away buses this season, it would get you priority or partly priority, depending how Ash decides to do it. I think it's season tickets and supporters club members. And supporters club members. If you want, Ash is trying to organise an away bus for Stranraer on the 11th. If you check him out on Twitter at Ash Wilson Author, you'll see some deets there. You can give him a message if you're interested. Any other things housekeeping wise? I don't think so. Hopefully Rooney can get this up on YouTube as quick as he got it the last time. Oh, we need a picture for Alec for the programme.
1, 2, 3.
Right, that's that. Everybody will be like, what are they two about? What is that Alec gives us a little page in the programme. He always gets the worst picture off the YouTube. So we got ones with thumbs up last time and he put that in. So thanks, Alec. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving us the page. Hopefully that can drive some listens. That'd be great. Thanks to everybody who has listened, obviously. We've got listeners again, as I say, for all around the world. Brazil, Australia, all these far-flung places that I'll probably never visit. So thanks very much, whoever you are. That's superb. So, with that, that's a pretty lengthy pod wrapped up. Apologies for the length, but there were obviously quite a things we need to rant about today. Hopefully it'll be a bit better than the next one. We have promised interviews. We do promise at some point we will get some. Prefer it would probably be once my dissertation's over and I've got more free time to do it more than once a month.
I did tap up our ex-chairman, Mr. Lumsden, and he looked at me as if to be like, he was a bit coy. I think we can discuss off there with a way of how we could do it to get him in.
Okay.
And talk about history rather than anything.
That'd be nice. So with that, goodbye for Mr. Rooney.
Goodbye, and with a wish, please, fingers crossed, let's try and sign 2 or 3 more bodies just to help us out. Please. Thank you. Goodbye. Stay safe, folks. Take care.
Okay, and that's a good night for Mr. Moncrief.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks for listening.
And it's a goodbye from me, the Right Rev. Goodbye.